Hey, what's up guys? It's Marv and welcome back to another Asphalt 9 video, and today I'm going to teach you guys how to get to Legend League as fast as possible. So before I get into it, I just want to mention that I do have a bunch of social media links that I will put in the description down below if you want to follow me and catch up on some cool car photography and some other projects that I'm working on. I'll also link my Discord server where I'm chatting with you guys all the time, and it's a really fun place to hang out. So again, I'll link that in the description as well. And of course, if you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe because it helps me out. And of course, it tells the YouTube algorithm that I'm not irrelevant. So let's get into the two main tips that I have for you guys to get to Legend League as quick as possible. And the first one is to use your best cars. Now, I'm sure you're sitting there ready to jot down some notes about to get to Legend League, get some nice rewards, and you're thinking, this dude has the nerve to tell me as his first tip to use my best car. Well, no, duh, of course I'm gonna use my best car. But it's actually a lot more complicated than that, because the famous saying goes to use the right tool for the right job, and that is certainly the case with Asphalt 9 multiplayer. Now, in Asphalt 9 multiplayer, there are four main modes. There's Classic, Ghost, Slipstream, and Ghost Slipstream, and each of those modes has a very different play style, which means they require a very certain type of car. So I'm gonna break it down for you guys. So Classic mode is where you want to have high nitro efficiency and good acceleration. So use cars that have quick acceleration, but also have a lot of nitro efficiency to play with. And the main reason is because using your shockwave and staying in shockwave for long means that you can avoid knockdowns, because of course knockdowns are enabled in classic mode. And this also means that if you're in shockwave and you happen to hit another opponent, that means they will get knocked down and you'll get a free advantage. So staying in shockwave as much as possible means you have to have a high nitro efficiency, and great acceleration means that at the beginning of the race you aren't as vulnerable to getting knocked down as if you were to have a car with low acceleration. It really helps you break out of the pack as soon as the race starts. So again, for classic multiplayer, you really want to have high nitro efficiency and good acceleration. So for Ghost, it's just slightly different. You still want to have great acceleration to break away from the pack, and also for a lot of the shorter tracks, just having high acceleration gives you a massive advantage anyway, especially because while someone might be playing in a car that has high top speed and low acceleration, they might not be able to take advantage of it, so by the time the race ends, you're still well ahead. But either way, you want to have high acceleration in Ghost, as well as great handling. And this combination of high acceleration and great handling just means that these cars are more versatile for most tracks. Again, you might run into the situation where you play Himalayas and you're playing against a very high top speed car, and unfortunately you just don't have the best shot at winning that if you're playing in like a Vanda or something like that. But overall, if you have a car with high acceleration and great handling, it means you are the most versatile and most well equipped for most of the tracks in Asphalt 9. Now moving on to normal slipstream. This one is rare, but essentially it means that the slipstream mode is enabled where every car will emit a slipstream behind it, where if you ride their slipstream, you get to have unlimited nitro, and it charges up your nitro as well. And this of course means that you have almost unlimited nitro if you're below first place. So this means that nitro efficiency doesn't really matter all too much, but top speed matters a lot, of course, as does acceleration. And you might be wondering why, because you have unlimited nitro anyway, so who cares if your car has low acceleration? And it's because it will let you get out of the pack early and ride slipstreams as soon as the game begins and get ahead. Now, sometimes getting ahead in slipstream means that the other people ride your slipstream and at the last second they might be able to catch up to you. But on the other hand, it means that out of corners you can really get ahead of the pack, or if you're behind first place, it means that out of a corner you quickly catch up to them. So you can use that strategy of falling behind and then catching up right before the race ends. Or it just means that you can get ahead of the pack early, because slipstream doesn't last forever. It's not throughout the whole track. So sometimes what I see is, especially in some slipstream races in Platinum League, is that there is a group of cars from first to third place, and then way behind them there is the fourth to sixth place cars. So having high acceleration means that you can break away from the pack and mostly guarantee yourself a podium finish. So for slipstream, top speed of course is really important, because every car will get up to its top speed rather quickly using slipstream. but the acceleration will help you avoid some of the knockdowns because knockdowns are enabled in normal Slipstream. Last, but certainly not least, because it is my favorite multiplayer game mode, we have Ghost Slipstream. And really, the most important stat for this mode is top speed. You're not going to be worrying about knockdowns, and because everyone has Slipstream, acceleration doesn't quite matter because usually the pack doesn't really create itself until way further into the race. So top speed is really the most important for this game mode. So now that you have an understanding of each of the different modes in multiplayer, that is where you want to look at your garage and determine which cars are best for which modes. So for example, if I am playing in Ghost Slipstream and I have an S-Class car to use, I'm most likely going to want to use a Jesko or a Tuatara rather than a Devo or, the Centenario. Those have low top speeds and those won't be able to keep up with the 300-mile-per-hour cars. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't use an Apollo in Classic, for example, where that car doesn't have the best handling, nor does it have the best nitro efficiency. Of course, if you're a very high-skilled player, you can make it work most of the time, but these are just general guidelines if you're just getting into multiplayer and you're not exactly sure which cars to use in which modes. Those are just general guidelines to follow, and if you're early enough into the season where it doesn't really matter if you lose too much rating, you can experiment with the cars that you like, and cars that you are used to are also a great idea, because if you are more comfortable with a car, that means that you might be able to race better even if another car has better statistics. So my second major tip for this video is to wait. Now you might be also confused about this tip. Why would I wait for later in the season to try and get to Legend League? And that's because at the beginning of the season, there are very few players and there will be a higher concentration or a higher percentage of players with not only better cars, but also higher skill. And trust me, I have run into this a number of times. I have often found it to be the case where I am playing for hours at an end for the first couple of days in a multiplayer season just to get to Legend League, where if I waited a couple of days before the season ends, I can get to Legend League no problem because there is just more players playing. And what that means is you might run into players that don't have as good as cars as you do or aren't as skilled as you. So by increasing that sample size when you play multiplayer, it just means you run a better chance of winning the races because you're not going to be playing the top elite players, because those players would have already reached Legend League at the beginning of the season. So for this tip, if you're more concerned about getting to Legend League than you are just playing and having fun, I would wait until the last couple of days of the season to get your races in, because that will help you climb up the leaderboard a lot quicker than if you were to play right out of the gate. So for this video, I wanted to avoid like very specific gameplay things, because overall, if you can get the meta of the game down and sort of change your mindset to the correct multiplayer mode, for example, I think that will help you out in general compared to just learning a speed trick here and there. Now, don't get me wrong, learning the tracks is still very important. Getting good cars, of course, is even more important. But you want to know how to approach the game in a macro scale as well. So hopefully this video helped you out with that. And if you have any tips that I may have missed and you want to share with the community, be sure to leave those in the comments section down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will catch you guys later.